HSR 4.2 is shaping up to be the largest HSR patch since 3.4 released, with Finon, the Fate collab, and the first round of Nova Flare buffed characters. This time around, it's right on the anniversary with Silverwolf 999 and Evanescia, both releasing alongside 4 more Nova Flared characters. Needless to say, there is a lot to cover with so many character kits to dive into, so to keep things organized, we are going to start off with our newest Elation characters, Silverwolf 999 and Evanescia, as well as the Elation Trailblazer. Let's dive into what their abilities do, what teammates I expect them to be played with, and any further thoughts I have about them as a first impression. Silverwolf 999 has to be the first character we talk about, considering she is the anniversary character. She will be the first banner of 4.2 since her drip marketing was first, and she's the one getting the anniversary character treatment, as we'll discuss later on in her kit. Silverwolf is an imaginary Elation character whose kit largely depends on her ultimate. First off, her basic attack is just a normal basic attack with nothing special, and her skill is also fairly unremarkable, doing underwhelming AoE damage and giving her 5 punchline like most Elation skills. As you can see, neither of these things are the bread and butter of her kit. Silverwolf's ultimate doesn't use traditional energy, which is an immediate sign that she is a character who is getting special treatment from Hoyo, like Acheron, Casterus, Finon, and Cyrene. Instead of using energy, Silverwolf's ultimate depends on stacks of hidden ranking. She gets 1 stack of hidden ranking for every 1 point of punchline the team gains. So in essence, we can basically say that Silverwolf stacks her ultimate by receiving punchline. This makes her very reliant on other Elation characters, since the only way to receive punchline is through Silverwolf's own skill and other Elation characters' skills. Once Silverwolf stacks enough punchline to activate her ultimate, which at the current moment requires 80 stacks and can stack up to a maximum of 160 in case you overflow on stacks, but could very well change throughout the beta, Silverwolf can activate her ultimate, which does quite a few things. First off, it advances her action by 100%, and it also states that it gives her another 80 stacks of hidden ranking, aka the stacks for her ultimate. She then enters a special state called the Invincible Player state, but we'll just call it the Enhanced state. While Silverwolf is in the Enhanced state from her ultimate, she deploys a zone that is simply active so long as she is in the Enhanced state. We'll talk about how she exits the Enhanced state and thus loses the zone later. The zone from Silverwolf's ultimate doesn't do anything in and of itself. However, while the zone is active, as long as Silverwolf has certified banger, which is received every time an AHA instant takes place, the zone will have a special effect. This effect is called the Premium Supply Mystery Box, but we'll just call it Silverwolf's Mystery Box. The Mystery Box from Silverwolf's zone has a chance to trigger every time an ally consumes a skill point. But what does the Mystery Box do? First off, it deals AoE Elation damage to all enemies before randomly triggering one of 3 effects. Yes, there is RNG involved. For the first possible effect, the Mystery Box will have a chance to deal additional true damage to the enemy with the highest HP equal to 20% of the damage from the Mystery Box. So basically, she has a chance to trigger a free Tribute E1 for herself. Secondly, the Mystery Box can instead have a chance to recover 2 skill points for the team, already adding a lot of potential for Silverwolf to be very skill point friendly. Lastly, the Mystery Box has a chance to give 3 punchline to the team, which essentially equates to 3 stacks for Silverwolf's 80 cost ultimate. That was a lot to take in, so let's summarize it all together now. Silverwolf's ultimate requires 80 stacks of punchline. When activating her ultimate, Silverwolf action advances herself by 100% and deploys a zone. The zone does nothing unless Silverwolf has certified banger, which she gets for several turns every time an AHA instant is triggered. If all of these conditions are met, then the last condition that must be met for her zone to do anything is for Silverwolf's allies to consume skill points. When Silverwolf's allies consume skill points, Silverwolf will have a chance to activate her Mystery Box. The percentage chance to activate the Mystery Box starts at 100%, meaning the first time an ally consumes a skill point, the Mystery Box will always activate. But after that, every subsequent Mystery Box's chance of activating will be reduced to 20% of its current chance. In essence, the chance to trigger the Mystery Box via consuming skill points starts at 100%, and then after it triggers, the chance goes down to 20%, and then after that, it goes down to 4%, and then 0.8%, and so on, making it significantly harder to trigger too many Mystery Boxes in a row. Most likely for balance reasons, since it could get very ridiculous to trigger too many of Silverwolf's Mystery Boxes just from allies consuming skill points. As for what the Mystery Box does, they always deal AoE damage, followed by a random chance to trigger one of 3 effects, either dealing true damage, or giving the team skill points, or giving the team punchline. So yes, there is quite a bit of RNG involved with Silverwolf's Mystery Boxes, but don't fret, there is still much more to Silverwolf's kit beyond this RNG fiesta. Let's look at Silverwolf's talent, which simply states that her ultimate can be activated after achieving 80 hidden ranking stacks, which, once again, she gets from punchline. It also states that Silverwolf is immune to crowd control debuffs while she's in her ultimate's enhanced state, and her crit damage is increased by 30% during this state as well. Furthermore, she replaces her basic attack with an enhanced basic attack, and she replaces her Elation elation skill with an enhanced elation skill. After she uses her enhanced basic attack 3 times, she exits her ultimate's enhanced state, which also gets rid of her zone. Additionally, as if that wasn't enough, while Silverwolf is in her enhanced state, she deals additional elation damage every time she uses her basic attack or skill, and the multiplier of her enhanced basic attacks are converted to elation damage. Speaking of her enhanced basic attacks, let's cover those, since this is where a lot of Silverwolf's damage will be coming from. Silverwolf's enhanced basic attacks in her ultimate's enhanced state deal bounce damage, bouncing 100 times, which is really funny. It's going to be a bunch of numbers flooding the screen, so I hope your device will be able to handle it. But don't worry, it's not like it's happening all at once. After a certain number of bounces, Silverwolf's enhanced basic attack will actually pause in the middle of its bounces to give your device a break, and to automatically trigger Silverwolf's mystery box. She can trigger her mystery box twice in the middle of her enhanced basic attack's bounces, and she can trigger it an additional 2 more times if she has 80 stacks of her ultimate left over during her enhanced basic attack, which, as you'll recall, her ultimate seems to give her the 80 stacks she would need for this. This means she can trigger 4 mystery boxes during one enhanced basic attack, giving plenty of opportunities to RNG your way into all of the mystery boxes' different possible effects. There is some confusing wording about the enhanced basic attack giving her an extra turn if it doesn't kill all enemies on the field, but this is most likely just due to the way her kit pauses her enhanced basic attack every time it launches a mystery box, thus forcing her to require an extra turn to use up the rest of the enhanced basic attack's bounces if enemies are still alive and able to be attacked after she keeps pausing her enhanced basic attack to launch her mystery boxes. It's really weird wording and will probably be clarified more in the future, but don't think of these extra turns as traditional extra turns. In fact, try not to think about it in that way at all, and it'll save you a lot of brain power. I spent enough time agonizing over what this part of her description was actually trying to say. Anyway, after Silverwolf has finished all of her bounce attacks and all of her mystery boxes, her enhanced basic attack will launch a final hit that deals elation damage spread evenly across all enemies. Silverwolf additionally buffs the damage multiplier of her enhanced basic attack based on the amount of ultimate stacks she currently has, not counting the stacks she gets while in the middle of using her enhanced basic attack, aka the punchline she gets from her mystery boxes in the middle of her enhanced basic attack. After the final hit of her enhanced basic attack, she clears out all of her ultimate stacks and then gains back the stacks she accumulated in the middle of her enhanced basic attack to stack up for her next enhanced basic attack. It's a little bit confusing, but essentially, she's just powering up her enhanced basic attack based on the punchline she's generating throughout her ultimate's enhanced state. As we stated earlier, after using up 3 enhanced basic attacks, Silverwolf finally exits her ultimate's enhanced state, losing the zone that gives her her mystery boxes, and thus needing to charge up her ultimate once again by stacking punchline with her team. Silverwolf's elation skill is the last part of her kit to talk about aside from traces. Her regular elation skill when she isn't in her enhanced state doesn't even do damage, instead merely giving her 20 stacks for her ultimate. Once she has activated her ultimate, however, and she is in her enhanced state, her elation skill now deals damage to all enemies and resets the chance to trigger her mystery box. Essentially, since her mystery box's chance to trigger goes down to 20% of its current value every time it triggers, if you activate the mystery box 4 times via her teammates consuming skill points, the chance to trigger the mystery box would go from a 100% chance to a 20% chance to a 4% chance to a 0.8% chance. So, activating Silverwolf's elation skill would reset this chance back to 100%. This of course does not count the mystery boxes that are activating from Silverwolf's enhanced basic attacks, since those ones are guaranteed. Her traces mainly just serve to help buff her even further. Her first trace converts her attack into elation percent stat, meaning you do want to stack as much attack as possible while balancing crit stats. Currently, the threshold requires a whopping 4,400 attack on Silverwolf to max out this stat boost, but we'll see if it ends up changing during her beta. Her second trace gives her stacks for her ultimate when the aha instant is triggered, but only when the amount of punchline used for the aha instant reaches 20 or 40 punchline, wherein it then gives her 20 or 40 stacks for her ultimate respectively. This is really helpful since it means the aha instant immediately front loads a bunch of stacks for Silverwolf's ultimate. And speaking of front loading ultimate stacks, her third trace simply gives her a head start of 20 stacks for her ultimate at the start of battle. One interesting thing to note about Silverwolf is that her technique is similar to Acheron or Finance technique, where it can instantly kill enemies in the overworld. She does this by summoning a creature to run around with her in the overworld, and the creature will consume technique points to instantly kill small enemies in the overworld. It's a nice technique for quality of life. Her technique also guarantees 1 proc of her mystery box at the start of each wave, which is nice. Now, before we get to her Eidolons, I must first address the elephant in the room, Silverwolf's global passive. Yes, she has the dreaded global passive, just like Casserus did. Silverwolf's global passive essentially gives your team 1 turn of immunity to crowd control debuffs when an enemy attempts to crowd control your team. This can only trigger 1 time per wave. I don't want to linger on this global passive, so we're just going to move on to Silverwolf's Eidolons, which are also admittedly quite disgustingly strong. wrong. Her E1 causes her mystery box to always give her 2 punchline, which is essentially 2 stacks for her ultimate, and it increases the elation stat for her mystery box by 200%. Silverwolf's E2 is the big one though. First off, while the zone from her ultimate is deployed, she implants all weakness types onto all enemies in the zone. Secondly, she reduces the resistances of all enemies to 0. Many enemies only have resistances of around 20% anyway, aside from a few specific elements that they're more resistant to. But in any scenario where the enemy has more than 20% elemental resistances to Silverwolf's type or the type of her teammates, this Eidolon is offering massive value. And if enemies already had 0 resistance to an element, their resistance is reduced by a further 20%. As if this wasn't enough, Silverwolf also essentially gets a mini Cypher ultimate on every enhanced basic attack. She stores up a portion of all the damage enemies take, and then unleashes it after the final hit of her enhanced basic attack to deal true damage evenly split between all enemies, clearing all of her stored up charges to start storing up again for the next enhanced basic attack. Her E2 really is basically OG Silverwolf plus Cypher's gimmicks combined, with the weakness implants and resistance shredding, plus literally having Cypher's ultimate baked into every enhanced basic attack once she's E2. Remember when I said Silverwolf is definitely getting the anniversary treatment? This is what I meant. Her vertical investment options seem quite strong. Silverwolf's E4 makes her elation skill in her enhanced state take into account an additional 999 punchline when it deals damage, which is surprisingly powerful for an E4, although punchline stacks do have diminishing returns when it gets this high. Still, more is always better. Do note that she doesn't literally gain 999 punchline stacks, it just makes her elation skill deal damage as if it had 999 punchline stacks. So it's basically pretend punchline stacks. Her E3 and E5 are just talent level upgrades as usual. And then her E6 gives her 25% Merry Make, which essentially just means a 25% true multiplier to all of her elation damage. You can think of it as 25% true damage to her elation damage. Her enhanced basic attacks also no longer clears her hidden ranking stacks, aka her ultimate stacks, and instead refund 30% of the stacks used to buff her enhanced basic attacks. Additionally, when Silverwolf's hidden ranking stacks hit their limit, which is 160 stacks, she immediately takes action. So yeah, there is a lot going on in Silverwolf's kit, a lot of interesting mechanics, and a decent amount of RNG as well. Though the RNG shouldn't be too much of a difference maker in whether Silverwolf is able to perform well or not. Then there's also her light cone to get into. Her light cone has a high base attack stat and gives her 64% attack, which really helps her reach her 4400 attack threshold for her attack to elation stat conversion. The light cone then gives her a buff called superpower for 3 turns after using her ultimate, which allows her to ignore 18% of the enemy's defense. So the classic defense ignore on a light cone. And it gives 2 punchline after using a basic attack. After the buff wears off after 3 turns, it immediately gives 12 punchline stacks. Remember that every stack of punchline translates to stacks for Silverwolf's ultimate. If you want an easier way to envision Silverwolf's kit and playstyle, think of her as being an upgraded version of Rappa, except instead of being focused on break damage, she's focused on elation damage. Her kit revolves around getting her ultimate, which Silverwolf gets via punchline stacks. Once you activate her ultimate, she enters her enhanced state, action advancing herself by 100% and giving herself 3 usages of her enhanced basic attack that does massive damage to all enemies. The way Silverwolf does this damage is of course different from Rappa, what with Silverwolf's 100 bounce hits and her mystery boxes also being a big part of her gameplay, but this is just a simple comparison to help you envision what it'll be like playing Silverwolf. She's also the only other imaginary female 5-star besides Rappa, so that's something. Oh boy, alright, that was a lot. There was so much to cover in Silverwolf's kit, so let's go over Evanescia's kit next, hopefully getting through it a bit more quickly since there's less intricacies to talk about. Unlike Silverwolf, who had a bunch of new mechanics, Evanescia mainly plays off of more familiar mechanics. For starters, she uses regular energy, but she has the highest energy cost in the game at 480. But don't fret, she has plenty of ways to alleviate this massive energy cost. For starters, Evanescia's basic attack, skill, and ultimate are all very simple. Her basic attack just hits one enemy, dealing physical damage. Her skill has a large multiplier and does physical damage in a blast attack, similarly to Saber's skill. It also gives 5 punchline, like many Elation character skills do. And then her ultimate is also similar to Saber's, dealing 1 large hit of AoE physical damage, followed by 5 bounces of more physical damage. And yeah, that's it. The only other interesting gimmick about her ultimate is that it's similar to Argenti and Yun Li, in that it technically only costs 240 energy to activate, even though her max energy is 480, meaning you can overstack energy on her. Evanescia's ability descriptions are very short and straightforward. There's almost no extra effects to them, aside from doing damage, and the damage multipliers are pretty big. However, despite being a physical elation character, there is no direct elation damage scaling on her abilities. Instead, her elation damage scaling comes from her talent. Evanescia's talent gives her bonus elation stat based off her crit damage, meaning she really wants to stack crit damage since she double dips into the stat. Additionally, every time Evanescia Evanescia gains Certified Banger, which is the extra punchline added to your character after an aha instant occurs, she gains an amount of energy equal to the Certified Banger. In other words, if an aha instant occurs and there was 30 punchline in the aha instant, 30 of that punchline gets converted into Certified Banger because that's just how aha as a mechanic works. Well, when that happens, those 30 punchline stacks that get converted into Certified Banger now also get converted into 30 energy for Evanescia's massive ultimate cost. Or say, when Yao Guang uses her ultimate and forces an aha instant to occur with a fixed 20 punchline, after the aha instant, those 20 punchline get converted into Certified Banger, which essentially equates to 20 energy for Evanescia. The difference between punchline and Certified Banger is essentially just that punchline is what you stack up before the aha instant, while Certified Banger is what gets stacked up on your character after the aha instant. This sets Evanescia and Silverwolf apart in how they stack their ultimates. Likewise, Evanescia also converts any energy she gains into Certified Banger, so the 30 energy she gets from casting her skill also gives 30 Certified Banger stacks. While Evanescia possesses Certified Banger, she adds extra elation scaling damage to her skill and ultimate's attacks. The scaling on this elation damage isn't the largest, while the scaling on her non-elation damage is fairly large. So Evanescia is interestingly enough some sort of hybrid when it comes to dealing normal damage and elation damage at the same time. I am so glad she is so much simpler to describe compared to Silverwolf. She also has something called the Fox Teacher, which sort of looks like a summon, but it more so functions as just an extra mechanic in her talent. Basically, when Evanescia accumulates 240 energy, the Fox Teacher deals elation damage to all enemies and restores 10 energy to Evanescia. Very simple once again. Her elation skill is also incredibly straightforward, simply dealing elation damage to all enemies. The scaling of her elation skill is actually smaller than Yao Guang's, albeit Evanescia will have higher stats than Yao Guang, so she won't literally be doing less damage during the aha instant, but it is interesting to note how small the scaling is. This is a clear indicator that Evanescia's damage is not meant to come from the aha instant, and the aha instant mainly serves to give her Certified Banger stacks in order to give her energy. Her elation skill itself also gives her an additional 10 Certified Banger, which again is converted to 10 energy for her massive ultimate cost. For her traces, Evanescia gains 30% crit rate for free. Since she wants to stack crit damage so badly, anything that makes it easier for her to get free crit rate so she can focus all her stats on crit damage is really helpful. Since, remember, she converts a portion of her crit damage into elation percent stat, making crit damage the most important stat for her since she double dips into it for her damage. Additionally, when there are 1, 2, or 3 plus enemies on the field, the number of bounce attacks her ultimate deals increases, getting more bounces if there's only 1 enemy on the field, making its damage more potent in single target since not only is she getting more bounces, but all the bounces will obviously only have to focus on 1 enemy. But that's not all her first trace does. When any elation character with an elation ID lower than hers gains Certified Banger, Evanescia gains 50% of those Certified Banger stacks as her own, which means she also converts it into energy for herself. Elation Skill ID is an ID coded into every elation character that you can check from their traces page. It essentially just dictates the order in which elation characters use their elation skill during the aha instant. So, elation characters who go before Evanescia during the aha instant will have half of their Certified Banger stacks from the aha instant also shared with Evanescia. To put it another way, if Yao Guang uses her ultimate to immediately cause an aha instant with 20 fixed punchline stacks, it means every elation character would get 20 Certified Banger after the aha instant, since the aha instant converts punchline into Certified Banger. If we assume a team of Yao Guang, Evanescia, Sparksy, and Silverwolf, just for the sake of explanation, let's pretend you are running this team for some reason, Evanescia would get 20 Certified Banger from this aha instant, which she converts into 20 energy. She then also gets half of the Certified Banger that every other elation teammate gets. So, since the other 3 elation characters are also getting 20 Certified Banger, each of them contributes 10 Certified Banger to Evanescia. She gets 10 from Yao Guang, 10 from Sparksy, and 10 from Silverwolf, equaling 30 extra Certified Banger on top of the 20 she got on her own, which would be 50 in total, which she also converts into energy. That is what Evanescia can get from an aha instant, obviously getting even more Certified Banger and even more energy if more punchline was used during the aha instant. But I was just using the fixed 20 punchline from Yao Guang's ultimate as an example. In other words, aha instances are very effective at giving Evanescia energy. For her second trace, whenever the Fox Teacher attacks, which, remember, is every time Evanescia accumulates 240 energy, it inflicts a vulnerability debuff on the target, increasing the damage they take by 12% for 3 turns. Lastly, when a teammate's Certified Banger state ends, Evanescia converts 50% of the lost Certified Banger stacks into her own Certified Banger stacks, which again gets converted into energy for her. In case you don't remember, Certified Banger stacks last for 2 turns, after which the stacks a character has from the aha instant that was converted into Certified Banger go away. Once this happens, Evanescia converts 50% of the lost stacks stacks into her own. So, as you can see, Evanescia has plenty of ways to help her charge her ultimate, even though it has a massive energy cost. And speaking of ways to charge her ultimate, we might as well talk about her light cone, because you bet they slap even more energy generation onto it. Evanescia's light cone gives her a hefty amount of crit damage, which is nice, since crit damage is her most valuable stat. It then gives her 10% energy regen, increased further based on the character's max energy, which for Evanescia becomes roughly 10% more energy regen, for a total of 20% bonus energy regen on her light cone. Additionally, when the wearer uses an elation skill, it applies a 15% vulnerability debuff onto the enemies. So yeah, very helpful for her energy generation, as well as just providing nice buffs. For her Eidolons, you will quickly see that Evanescia's Eidolons honestly are nowhere near as crazy as Silverwolf's, making it very obvious that Silverwolf is the main pushed anniversary character who Hoyo is baiting with her vertical investment. Evanescia's E1 increases her all-type res pen by 20%, which is a classic HSR Eidolon. Additionally, when the Fox Teacher attacks, which again happens every time Evanescia accumulates 240 energy, she instantly launches her elation skill, which already gives her certified banger stacks for more energy, but her E1 increases the amount of certified banger / energy stacks it gives her even more. So both her E1 and S1 help out her energy generation further. Now, while Silverwolf's E2 was pretty crazy, Evanescia's E2 is a bit more tame, increasing her elation stat by a mere 25% and allowing her trace that applies a vulnerability debuff of 12% to stack twice, up to 24% vulnerability instead of 12%. It's pretty diabolical comparing this E2 to Silverwolf's E2. It really reminds me of comparing Castorus's E2 to Anaxa's and the sheer difference between the two of them when they released in the same anniversary patch. Anywho, the E3 and E5 are just talent level upgrades as per usual. The E4 is the classic 15% defense ignore on her attacks. Lastly, Evanescia's E6 has the exact same 25% Merry Make, aka 25% elation true damage scaling, as Silverwolf's E6. It would have been hilarious if the number on Evanescia's E6 was just smaller than Silverwolf's for no reason. Additionally, remember how Evanescia gains 50% of the certified banger gained or lost by all allies? Her E6 now makes her gain 100% of the value instead, essentially doubling her energy generation from this way. She also continues copying Saber by having a similar effect as Saber's E6, restoring energy after using her ultimate. Albeit while Saber fully refunds her ultimate, Evanescia only refunds 120 energy. And Evanescia can only trigger this effect once every 4 ultimates, which is quite the restriction on an E6. Overall, Evanescia's kit is a lot simpler than Silverwolf's, but that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Unlike Sparksy and Silverwolf, who largely do most of their damage via elation damage, Evanescia has a decent portion of her damage from her normal attack scalings rather than only her elation scalings, which I do think is neat, even if she doesn't have as much going on as Silverwolf. As for which teams I would expect you to use for these two ladies, well, we can't really get into that without first talking about elation main character. To just briefly go through what EMC does, EMC is a lightning elation character. Their basic attack is nothing special, while their skill does AoE damage and gives a whopping 20 certified banger stacks. Do note that it specifically gives certified banger and not punchline, meaning it will not give any stacks to Silverwolf, who requires punchline, but it will give energy to Evanescia, since Evanescia wants certified banger stacks directly and not punchline. And once again, the only practical difference between punchline and certified banger is that punchline is what you stack up before the aha instant. Then, the aha instant occurs and deals damage based on punchline stacks before converting the punchline stacks into certified banger. EMC essentially just skips the phase of generating punchline on their skill and just converts their skill directly into certified banger stacks, specifically to make them synergize less with Silverwolf and synergize more with Evanescia. But that isn't to say EMC has no synergy with Silverwolf. EMC's ultimate gives 5 punchline stacks with an energy cost of 160, and it's a single target buff that buffs one ally's crit damage by 50%. Once again, you can see their synergy with Evanescia since, as we discussed, crit damage is Evanescia's most desired stat since she double dips into it for her elation stat conversion. EMC's ultimate also gives 10 certified banger if the target has an elation skill, aka if the target was an elation character. So that's even more energy for Evanescia. The ultimate then instantly makes the selected character use their elation skill. So it's sort of like a budget Yao Guang, except while Yao Guang makes the entire team use their elation skill by instantly giving a turn to the aha instant, EMC's ultimate only does this for one selected ally. If EMC uses their ultimate on a non-elation ally, it's merely a 50% action advance. So you're never using EMC outside of elation teams. They are not like RMC, who is super strong in so many teams. EMC's talent gives them extra energy and punchline every time they use an attack, so that helps them with their own 160 energy cost. And the punchline is nice to help with stacking Silverwolf's ultimate a little bit. Additionally, when EMC has certified banger, their skill just deals more damage. EMC's elation skill is also very basic, simply doing damage in the form of bounce attacks, followed by one final hit, evenly split across all enemies, with a scaling very similar to Yao Guang's elation skill. For their traces, EMC increases their own elation stat based on their attack, which is starting to become a trend in elation characters. Their second trace gives them free crit rate and a free skill point when they use their ultimate. And lastly, after an ally uses their elation skill, which remember, EMC can force a character to use their elation skill without waiting for the aha instant, EMC gains 2 points of certified banger the next time they use their skill. EMC's Eidolons, which will most likely be free, are also fairly simple. The E1 gives more certified banger stacks on their ultimate after using their skill. So again, more energy for Evanescia. The E2 makes their ultimate additionally buff the elation stat of the selected ally. The E4 applies a 10% vulnerability debuff on enemies when using the elation skill. And the E6 just makes the buff from EMC's ultimate apply to themselves in addition to the ally they selected for their ultimate. All in all, EMC is clearly meant to be a support who stacks certified banger, which in turn gives lots of energy to Evanescia. They seem tailor-made for Evanescia, meaning you will definitely be pairing the two of them together. Yao Guang is literally the only other elation support in the game right now, so she sort of ends up slotting into both Evanescia and Silverwolf's teams by default at the current moment just for that. Not that Yao Guang is a given mainstay in Silverwolf's teams by any means. For starters, Silverwolf's most important teammate is most likely Sparksy, because Sparksy is the best character at generating punchline, which Silverwolf needs for her ultimate. And Silverwolf has many ways of regenerating skill points for Sparksy without needing Sparkle on the team. Not to mention Silverwolf just gets so many benefits from having her teammates consume skill points to trigger more mystery boxes. This means you would round out Silverwolf and Sparksy's team with either EMC or Yao Guang, simply once again by virtue of not having any other elation support options at the current moment. So this is how I would expect team building to look like for Silverwolf and Evanescia, but we'll see how things shape out for the two of them after more testing is done, and after whatever changes they go through in the beta. Because keep in mind, this is only V1, their initial kits, and a lot can still change. So please do not make any hasty, concrete pulling decisions based solely off of this. But for now, that is the gist of everything you need to know about how Silverwolf, Evanescia, and Elation MC work, and some of the things I'm expecting from their team building. Of course, this is just my first impressions, and I will definitely be diving much deeper into these characters, especially as more testing gets done. So consider subscribing to the channel if you don't want to miss out on my much more in-depth opinions on these characters after I've gotten more time with them. My next video on them will definitely be more fully fleshed out and fully informed. And like this video if you found it helpful or enjoyable at all. Comment down below your current thoughts on Silverwolf, Evanescia, and Elation MC. Who are you most excited for? For me personally, Silverwolf is easily the star of the show this patch. The Nova Flares for Welt, Zila, Huohuo, and Firefly are also very exciting, and I'll be covering those in my next video, so stay tuned for that. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and until next time!